Number 4, Shutdown Averted. The U.S. Congress passed spending legislation early on Saturday in a down-to-the-wire burst of activity that will avert a destabilizing government shutdown ahead of the busy holiday travel season. That's right, folks. A bipartisan bill was initially proposed and agreed upon until Trump told the GOP to fight it, warning his fellow politicians that they will be primaried if they stay complicit, which is an effective way to maneuver, especially given the Democrats' special move, which is to do absolutely nothing, then ask for your money. I'm going to go off script a little bit and give a little bit more context. What they mean by vote harder is Democrats will use a strategy where they'll use the filibuster, needing 60 votes in the Senate, or different legislative rules involved to not pass anything. Whereas the Republicans will do whatever is necessary to pass in their fascist agenda.
I think the tragedy is that we have a Congress with a Senate that has a minority of misguided senators who will use the filibuster to keep the majority of people from even voting. They won't let the majority of senators vote. And certainly they wouldn't want the majority of people to vote because they know they do not represent the majority of the American people. In fact, they represent in their own states a very small minority.
So what the Democrats tend to do is, one, they don't want anything to happen. 2, they're content with it just staying the same, or even getting worse, because that means that they can ask for your funding. The typical Democratic rally cry is, send me money. There's something so bad coming up that you have to elect us. We haven't passed anything substantial to you, but the other option is so bad that you have to send us money and vote for us. What else are you going to do? They'll allow these fascist policies to take place so that they can continue to ask for your money. So if they have an out for not voting in any forms of social safety nets or anything like that, they'll take that out and they'll blame it on you that you need to vote harder. Oh, we didn't have 60 senators, so you need to vote harder. Then meanwhile, when you vote them in, they don't do anything. They don't do anything substantial. They don't pass any legislation that helps you in any way. Just a downward trend backwards. We just go backwards every time. And they're okay with it because then they can ask you for funding. Want to do something about climate change? Vote us in. Thank you for voting us in. We can't do anything about it right now. Oh shoot, we just lost the election. You need to vote us in. Should have voted harder. It's your fault. Fuck them, they're trash. The Democratic-controlled Senate in an 85-11 vote passed a bill to continue government funding 38 minutes after it expired at midnight. The late-night vote capped a frantic week that saw President-elect Donald Trump and his government-subsidized billionaire leader, Elon Musk, defeat an initial bipartisan deal, throwing Congress into disarray. One of the requests that held everything up was Donald Trump screaming to raise the debt ceiling. When the fake fiscally conservative president-elect and vice president-elect were pushed on this, their team put a statement saying, increasing the debt ceiling is not great, but we'd rather do it on Biden's watch. Which, thank God, this has been one of my fail-proof ways of seeing if someone is actually retarded. The debt has gotten too crazy. That's why I'm voting Republican. You, sir, are a retard. The final version of the bill stripped out provisions made by Democrats who accused Republicans of caving into pressure from a fucking South African. No electoral process for the D. Now watch my mouth and let go of your P. My take on the matter, folks, is get ready for a nauseating Donald Trump tenure. And I use tenure here instead of presidency because, once again, I do think he will successfully repeal term limits and instill himself as supreme ruler, which I don't even think is a bad thing at this point, folks. We are so backwards and only moving towards a trajectory where the middle class is wiped out. I think it's necessary that he destroy the Constitution because there's no fucking way we are digging ourselves out of this situation we are in. Supreme Court for the next 50 years will be conservative majority. Any laws that bring forth basic social safety nets will get ruled as unconstitutional by these guys. It's only downhill from here, folks. That's why Donald Trump may actually be the Hail Mary. If we need to combat rampant neoliberalism that is slowly destroying the middle class, gotta get rid of that Constitution first. If you want to combat climate change that is not maybe going to make most of the U.S. uninhabitable, but is for certain going to make most of the U.S. uninhabitable, gotta get rid of that Constitution first. Bipartisan politics is broken, and democracy has been an illusion the entire time. Gotta get rid of that Constitution if you want to do anything about it. There's just no other way, folks. The document is hindering the ability of truly any change to occur. And maybe, folks, I would say trust in the institutions and vote out the bad apples, but every single politician seems to be a bad apple. There is nothing we can do. We are fucked. And I think if most people truly understood just how fucked we were, that our children's generation will most likely be the last generation to exist on this planet, then I think they would agree with me. But I understand the sentiment is radical, folks. I wish there was some other way, but it's truly the only way I think we could get out of this. Trump and Peter Thiel cronies have an ambitious 4 years ahead of them, which includes firing 70% of the federal government employees, deporting 13 million legalizing illegal citizens, around 4% of the population, $400 billion, and RFK banning sugar and pasteurized milk. Remember when they tried to do something like that in Manhattan? Everybody called de Blasio a fascist? Weird that they support it when it's the Mongolian throat cancer guy. Federal government spent roughly $6.2 trillion last year and has more than $36 trillion in debt. Trillion, folks. Congress will need to act to authorize further borrowing by the middle of next year. My thoughts on the matter: maybe we should stop funding genocide and increase taxes on cuck South African billionaires. Imagine being $36 trillion in debt and the only first world country in the world without universal health care.
What makes capitalism work is the fact that if you're an able-bodied young person, if you refuse to work, you suffer a fair amount of agony. And it's because of that agony that this whole economic system works.